Right now, as you're listening to this, someone half as smart as you just got promoted. Someone with less experience just closed the deal you've been chasing for months. Someone weaker than you is living the life you dream about. Why? They have one thing you don't. And it's not talent. It's not luck. It's not connections. It's something so simple, so available to you right now, that once you understand it, you'll never be the same person again. This secret has been hiding in plain sight your entire life. Here's what nobody told you. You were programmed to fail. From childhood, you learned to ask permission, to wait your turn, to be polite, to consider others first. Every good boy and be nice carved weakness into your DNA. Right now, there's a voice in your head that hesitates before you speak, that apologizes before you act, that shrinks when you should expand. That voice isn't you. It's your programming, and today we destroy it forever. Real confidence isn't positive thinking. It's not fake it till you make it. True confidence is cold, calculated certainty. It's knowing that when you walk into a room, the energy shifts. When you speak, people stop talking. When you decide something, it happens. This isn't arrogance. Arrogant people need validation. This is power, and power doesn't ask for permission. It takes control. The presence formula is not about pretending. It is about embodying a state of mind so convincingly that others cannot help but respond. Watch carefully how truly powerful individuals carry themselves. They are never rushed, never jerky in their movements, never scrambling for validation through chatter or empty gestures. When they step into a room, time itself seems to slow. They pause, not because they are uncertain, but because they understand that silence and stillness carry more weight than noise. They scan the environment, not frantically, but with deliberate calm, as though every detail has meaning. Their choice of where to stand, where to sit, even where to lean, is never accidental. Position is power, and they place themselves in the exact spot where attention naturally gravitates toward them. Look closer at their body language. Their posture communicates ownership of the space. Their shoulders are relaxed, their chest open, their stance grounded. They radiate the message, "I belong here, and nothing can dislodge me." Their eyes carry an even sharper message. They do not dart around nervously seeking approval. Instead, they rest their gaze with authority, assessing, weighing, evaluating, signaling to everyone that the flow of judgment moves outward from them, not inward toward them. People feel this distinction instantly. To be under the eyes of such presence is to feel measured, and most instinctively rise or shrink according to that silent evaluation. This is not mere performance. The greatest mistake imitators make is to treat presence as an act. Forced stillness looks stiff. Fake confidence looks fragile. True presence emerges from an internal conviction that you are, in this moment, the axis around which the room turns. That conviction is not arrogance, but clarity, a refusal to place others above you in value. When you genuinely believe you are the most important figure in the room, your movements align with that belief effortlessly. You no longer chase attention. Attention comes to you. The presence formula is therefore less about technique and more about psychology, a state of calm dominance that reshapes how others perceive reality the moment you step through the door. Before your body makes a gesture, before your mind reveals a thought, your voice betrays you. It is the earliest and most accurate indicator of how you see yourself and how others will see you. Weak men rarely understand this truth. They speak quickly, rushing their sentences as though afraid of being interrupted or dismissed. Their tone rises at the end, almost as if they are asking for permission to be heard. Each word is padded with fillers. You know, like tiny cracks in the foundation of their authority. They explain excessively, as though justifying their right to speak, layering unnecessary detail that only dilutes their impact. Their voice becomes a confession of insecurity, and before they even reach the end of a sentence, their audience has already judged them as small, uncertain, and forgettable. Contrast this with those who wield their voice as a weapon. They speak slowly, not because they lack words, but because they understand that silence between words is just as powerful as the words themselves. Each pause is intentional, each phrase measured. Their tone does not rise timidly, but falls decisively, as though sealing a verdict rather than seeking agreement. They do not flood the air with explanations. They issue declarations. Every syllable carries weight. Every sentence sounds final. When such a voice fills a room, people lean in, not because they are asked to, but because their minds instinctively respond to authority. The mastery of voice is not about volume or theatrics. It is about rhythm, certainty, and restraint. Too many believe that persuasion requires endless convincing, as if repetition will bend others into agreement. But the psychology of power works in the opposite direction. When your voice communicates finality, you eliminate negotiation before it begins. The listener does not weigh your words against their own. They absorb them as if they were the natural order of things. The voice, then, becomes a signal of dominance long before logic or argument can take root. To master your voice is to master perception. You no longer argue, you command. You no longer hope to be believed, you impose belief. And once you reach that level of vocal authority, every word you choose becomes less about communication and more about control. This is the point where most men reveal their weakness, no matter how carefully they have built the illusion of strength. They can look confident, they can sound confident, but the moment one voice rises against them, the mask crumbles. A single criticism slices through their composure. One rejection is enough to poison their entire day. One careless opinion has the power to dictate their emotions, as though their inner state were chained to the unpredictable moods of others. Such men are not powerful. They are puppets, and the strings are held by anyone willing to tug at their insecurities. True power does not begin with appearance or sound. It begins with emotional sovereignty, the ability to remain untouched, unshaken, unbroken, regardless of what comes at you. To be emotionally untouchable does not mean you feel nothing. Quite the opposite. You feel everything, but you refuse to react unless the reaction benefits you. Your emotions no longer control you. You control them, and through them, you control the entire battlefield of human interaction. When someone hurls an insult, the fragile man hears pain and reacts with anger. The powerful man hears intelligence, information about his enemy's weakness, envy, or intention. He does not bleed. He studies. When flattery comes, the fragile man swells with pride, eager to be fed more. The powerful man treats it as data, a signal of what people desire, what they hope to gain, what they find valuable. And when rejection comes, the fragile man collapses, taking it as a verdict on his worth. The powerful man interprets it as clarity, as the sharpening of focus, as a removal of distraction. Rejection does not wound him. It filters out the undeserving. This shift in psychology transforms the entire game. You stop living as a prisoner to external approval and begin living as the architect of your own state. People notice it instantly. They test you with insults, with silence, with denial. And when you do not flinch, when your energy remains steady, they feel the imbalance of power tilting toward you. To be emotionally untouchable is not indifference, it is discipline. It is the refusal to allow anyone else's words or actions to command the throne of your mind. That throne is yours, and once you secure it, you no longer play by the rules of others. They play by yours. The greatest shift in power comes the moment you stop reacting and start calculating. Most people live as reflexes. Someone provokes them, they defend. Someone flatters them, they submit. Someone ignores them, they chase. In every case, their behavior is dictated by the other person. They believe they are acting freely, but in truth, they are being played like instruments. The powerful man, however, understands that every interaction is a test. To pass it, you must resist the urge to respond impulsively. When someone tests you with criticism or mockery, the weak man rushes to defend his pride. But defense is already surrender, for it acknowledges the attack as legitimate. The calculating man does something different. He observes. He asks himself, not aloud but silently, what are they trying to get from me? What weakness are they probing for? In this pause, he strips the attack of its venom and turns it into intelligence. The same principle applies to praise. Weak men are seduced by compliments, eager to bask in the warmth of validation. But compliments are rarely free. They are currency, payment offered in exchange for influence. The calculating man resists melting under the glow of admiration. He studies it. Why this praise? Why now? What do they want? Instead of feeding on flattery, he dissects it, extracting data about what people value, what they hope to gain, and where they can be led. And when he is ignored, when silence replaces attention, he does not chase like a beggar desperate for recognition. Chasing reveals dependence. Instead, he plans. He asks, how can this neglect serve me? What space does it create? How can I redirect my energy toward my greater purpose rather than their approval? Ignorance from others becomes clarity for him. It frees him from distraction and forces him to refine his path. This is the psychology of the untouchable. It is not about feeling nothing. It is about transforming every feeling into advantage. Anger becomes strategy. Praise becomes data. Rejection becomes clarity. By refusing to react, you train others to reveal themselves while you remain concealed. The battlefield of emotions shifts entirely. They play openly, you play invisibly. And in the end, the one who calculates, not the one who reacts, always decides the outcome. Rejection is not the monster most people fear. It is the mentor they refuse to acknowledge. Each time you hear no, the fragile ego recoils, interpreting it as a final judgment on worth. But rejection, when understood correctly, is a precise teacher. It tells you exactly where you stand, what gaps exist, and what must be sharpened. It is not a wall, but a mirror, reflecting the reality you must confront. Every denial, every dismissal, every closed door is a map pointing toward what needs to be transformed. To treat rejection as an enemy is to miss the opportunity to evolve. To treat it as a teacher is to accelerate past those still licking their wounds. But here lies the deeper secret. You must never let rejection mark you publicly. The moment others see that their denial shakes you, you hand them control. Power is lost not through the rejection itself, but through the visible wound it leaves. Instead of sulking, instead of demanding acknowledgement, the powerful man vanishes. He withdraws, not as a retreat, but as a calculated disappearance. This absence creates mystery. Those who rejected you begin to wonder, where did he go? Did we underestimate him? Is he plotting something greater? In their uncertainty, your silence becomes louder than any argument. And in that silence, you work. You upgrade yourself relentlessly. Skills, mindset, strategy, appearance, presence. Every hour invested in transformation is a weapon being forged in the dark. By the time you re-emerge, you are no longer the same figure who was dismissed. You do not return with anger, nor with petty revenge, for that would anchor you to the smallness of the past. Instead, you return at a level so elevated that those who once denied you cannot even reach the ground you now stand on. Their rejection becomes irrelevant, swallowed by the vast difference between who you were and who you have become. This is how legends are born. Not through the applause of the crowd, not through constant approval, but through rejection, transmuted into reinvention. The great ones are not defined by who accepted them, but by how they used denial as fuel. Rejection is not the end of the story. It is the fire that forges it. Silence, when wielded correctly, is the most lethal weapon in your arsenal. Most people fear it. They scramble to fill quiet moments with words, as though emptiness itself were unbearable. Their chatter is nervous, spilling out like a confession. In these rushed attempts to fill space, they reveal far more than they intend. Their doubts, their insecurities, their hidden desires. Silence exposes them, not you. The man who is unafraid of silence gains instant advantage because he refuses to play the game of constant noise. He understands that the less he reveals, the more others will reveal in his place. To master silence is to turn it into a mirror. When you do not rush to answer, people begin to project themselves into the gap. They explain further than they should, justify more than is necessary, expose weaknesses you never had to dig for. In the stillness, they begin negotiating against themselves, revealing their fear of judgment. Meanwhile, your calm presence communicates power without a single word. Every second you withhold speech builds pressure, and that pressure works for you. When you finally do speak, your words land with amplified force. A single phrase delivered after a pause carries the weight of authority. People lean in, eager to hear what you chose to say after withholding so much. Silence is not awkward, it is magnetic. It draws others toward you, makes them chase your approval, and forces them to work harder for your attention. What you are not saying becomes more fascinating than what you could ever say directly. The mystery compels them. But silence is not merely about withholding, it is about timing. To remain quiet when others expect chatter is to break patterns, to control rhythm. You create suspense. You condition others to value your words not because of their volume, but because of their rarity. Like scarce resources, your words become treasure. Res people strive to earn. This transforms ordinary communication into a contest, one in which you always hold the higher ground. In a world addicted to noise, silence separates you. It makes others restless while you remain composed. It makes their secrets spill while yours stay hidden. And it makes your voice, when you finally choose to use it, echo like a verdict no one dares to challenge. There comes a point where the game changes forever, the moment you stop chasing. Chasing is the behavior of the dependent, the uncertain, the man who still believes power is something granted to him by others. When you chase, you declare without words that the other person is above you, that their approval, their attention, their opportunity is more valuable than your presence. But the powerful man learns to invert this dynamic. He no longer reaches outward. Instead, he cultivates such depth, such stability, such undeniable worth, that people are drawn into his orbit like planets circling a sun. This is gravity, the invisible force that pulls others toward you without effort, without pursuit, without begging. To embody gravity, you must become centered. That means your value is not conditional, not fragile, not reliant on external validation. You know who you are, what you bring, and where you are going. When you walk into a room with this certainty, attention follows naturally. Opportunities begin to align themselves with you, because people sense instinctively that attaching themselves to your trajectory elevates their own. You stop running after them, and instead, they begin positioning themselves to be chosen by you. Attention, too, shifts in this new reality. You no longer seek it desperately, nor do you try to force it with noise or theatrics. Instead, your calm authority, your stillness, your composure make others notice without you asking. Presence itself becomes louder than performance, and respect, which so many chase endlessly but rarely obtain, ceases to be requested. It becomes a natural law of interaction. To deny respect to one who radiates inner gravity is to appear foolish, and people instinctively avoid looking weak. Thus, they respect you not out of generosity, but out of necessity. This transformation begins with a single psychological decision. 2. Stop needing anything from anyone. Need is weakness. The moment you cut that dependency, you shift from seeker to source, from chaser to center. People are no longer doing you favors by giving you attention, opportunity, or recognition. Instead, they are elevated by the chance to align with you. And this is the essence of true magnetism. You do not move toward the world. The world moves toward you. This is the final stage of transformation, the point where you cease being the man who bends himself to fit into the expectations of others. You no longer crave approval, no longer explain yourself to those who don't deserve an explanation, no longer dilute your vision to make others comfortable. The man you once were, the one who chased validation, who negotiated his worth, who measured himself by outside judgment, has been left behind. In his place stands someone entirely different, a figure who does not move according to the pressures of others, but who bends the environment around him. Instead of being shaped by reality, you have become the one who shapes it. At this level, manipulation loses its grip on you. Why? Because all manipulation relies on one core weakness, the target's hunger for acceptance. When someone needs to be liked, to be praised, to be included, they are vulnerable to control. But once you no longer need validation, the levers others pull simply do not work on you. They can withhold their approval and it means nothing. They can criticize and it bounces off. They can attempt to lure you with flattery and you see it as data, not truth. You are no longer a player reacting to the game. You are the architect rewriting the rules. This detachment does not make you cold. It makes you unbreakable. People cannot fracture a man who does not lean on their acceptance to stand tall. Your strength comes from within, from an alignment of vision, discipline, and purpose that no outside force can dismantle. It is this rare independence that terrifies some and fascinates others. They cannot comprehend a man who answers to no one, yet commands the loyalty, respect, and attention of all. And this is why you become unforgettable. Most men fade into the background because they are interchangeable, shaped endlessly by the demands of others. But the man who refuses compromise, who carries himself as self-contained and self-defined, cannot be replaced. He leaves a mark, not by pleading to be remembered, but by embodying something so rare that forgetting him is impossible. This is the summit of power, to be the one who stands alone, untouchable, and still commands the world's gaze. Everything changes at this stage. Nothing about you enters a room the same way it once did. The way you walk, steady, deliberate, grounded, communicates certainty before you even make eye contact. The way you speak shifts as well. No more wasted words, no more desperate explanations, no more tones that beg for approval. Each sentence carries a finality that others cannot ignore. Even in the face of challenge, your approach is transformed. Where you once might have reacted, hesitated, or questioned yourself, now you confront obstacles with calm calculation. Challenges become less about survival and more about demonstration, proof of the strength you've cultivated. And people notice. They always notice. Before you even speak, they feel it. An invisible current that sets you apart. Power is not always loud. In fact, the rarest power is silent, subtle, almost intangible, yet undeniable. You radiate inevitability. It is not mere confidence, because confidence can waver. What you now carry is destiny, the aura of someone who has stepped beyond the fragile need for acceptance and stepped into the authority of self-mastery. Others may not be able to define what makes you different, but they sense it deeply, instinctively. They recognize, often before you say a word, that you have accessed a level of control and clarity that most men will chase their entire lives but never touch. You no longer seek entry into spaces where others grant you permission. You no longer ask for a seat at the table, waiting to be acknowledged. That was the old game, the game of dependence. Now, you build the table. You design the arena. You decide who is worthy to sit, who earns access, and who remains outside. Authority has shifted permanently. You are no longer at the mercy of the environment. You are the environment. This transformation is not cosmetic. It is not about posture, words, or gestures alone. Ours, it is a fundamental psychological shift where you have cut every chain of need. This is why your presence feels inevitable. why people adjust themselves around you rather than the other way around. Welcome to your new life, the life where you no longer follow, no longer request, no longer chase. You are the center, and the world now moves in response to you.